In this video, we are going to talk about radians and converting degrees to radians and radians to degrees. So first, let's define. A radian is a unit of angle measure based on arc length. 1 radian is defined as the measure of the angle formed when the radius is equivalent to the length of the intercepted arc. Now, let's talk about what that means. So I'm going to go a little bit off the paper here just so that we can have this better visualization. So arc length is this curved right there. So it's basically like the circumference. So what we're looking at is the radius and the arc length is equal. And in all cases, if the radius and the arc length are equal, that's going to give me 1 radian. So if this is equal to 3 and this is equal to 3, then this angle is equal to 1 radian. If this is equal to 17 and this is equal to 17, this angle is equal to 1 radian. So as long as your radius and your arc length are congruent, are equal in measure, then that's going to give you the 1 radian. Now, here's the really cool part. Here's the really nifty part. So here we have a semicircle. So a semicircle, 180 degrees. If you take that radian, so here's my radius and my arc length that is equal to my radius, that's 1 radian, radius and an arc length of 1 radius, that's 2 radians, 3 radians, and then to finish the semicircle, I've got this extra 0.14159. So in other words, what we have is that 3.14159 radians is the same as 180 degrees. Now, if that number doesn't look familiar to you, you haven't been paying attention. That's pi. This is the conversion unit that we're going to do. Pi radians is equal to 180 degrees. So the two different ways we're going to measure angles, or the two different units, are degrees and radians. It's like the difference between measuring inches and meters. We're just using different units. And that's how we're going to convert between the two. Okay, so let's go back to our official notes. And what we're going to say here, I'm going to start over here at the 180 because that's the one that makes more sense to me. 180 is equal to pi radians, which means 360, which is 2 times 180, is 2 pi radians. And that goes back to our circumference definition, but for right now, we're just going to use this one to do our conversions. All right, our conversions are going to be based on the 180 equals pi. So when I'm converting from degrees to radians, I'm going to multiply by pi over 180. When I go from radians to degrees, I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. Now, the reason that I can do that is because this fraction equals 1, since they're equal. It's like going 5 divided by 5 equals 1, or going 12 inches divided by 1 foot, that equals 1. So that's why I'm able to multiply by 180 over pi, or pi over 180. Now, I don't like to have to think about degrees to radians, this I multiply by this, radians to degrees I multiply by this. So what I'm going to do, I am always going to try and cancel the units that are there and end up with the units that I want. So I'm going to do example 4 here. I'm going to make it a little bigger for me. Oops. Okay, I want to convert 30 degrees, I know it's in degrees because it has the degree symbol, to radians. If it has the degree symbol, you're in degrees. If it doesn't, you're in radians. Most of the time you'll have a pi in there, but you could write radians without the pi. Like you could write, instead of 2 pi, you could write 6.228 if you wanted to. All right, so when I say I want the degrees to cancel, I'm either going to do 180 degrees divided by pi radians. I don't usually write the radians in, just so you know. Or I'm going to do pi over 180 degrees, right? I want the degrees to cancel. So in this case, I'm going to put the degrees in the denominator, because canceling is division and it goes top to bottom. Pi goes in the numerator. So I get 30 pi over 180. And then I reduce. So 30 over 180 is 6 in the denominator, 1/6. So 30 degrees is pi over 6. Okay? Now, I'm going to let you do 150 as part of the assignment. I'm going to do the negative 120. Or, sorry, negative 220. So 220 degrees. I'm going to do the same thing. Put it over 1. I want the degrees to cancel, so the 180 is going to go in the denominator. So the pi is going to go in the numerator. Again, this fraction right here, this equals 1. That's why this is legal, because it equals 1. I'm multiplying by 1. And then what's going to happen? The degrees will cancel. I'll get negative 220 pi over 180, reducing that, dividing both by 10 and then by 2, so negative 11 pi over 9. You can always use your calculator to reduce if you want to. Just hit that fraction key and then hit equals and it'll reduce it for you. Okay, you're going to do this one as part of the assignment. Let's look at some converting from radians to degrees. So again, I know this is in radians because 2 reasons. Number 1, it doesn't have a degree symbol. Number 2, it has a pi. Okay, so I know this is in degrees because of that. So this time I want the pi to cancel. So I'm going to put the pi in the denominator. So since I want the pi in the denominator, or sorry, since I want the pi to cancel, the pi is going to go in the denominator, which means that the 180 degrees is going to go in the numerator. And then the pi's will cancel. And then I'm going to do 4 times 180 and then divided by 3. So I don't care how you go about doing that simplification. If you want to go ahead and multiply across the top, let me try that again. Over 3, and then do your division. And so I get 240 degrees. So that's going radians to degrees. Now, let's go ahead and do number 8, just so we can see that this negative here doesn't change anything. I still just want the pi's to cancel. So I'm going to put the pi in the denominator, which means I need 180 degrees in the numerator. Again, that fraction's equal to 1. That's why this is legal. Canceling out the pi and then doing our math. So again, do the fraction multiplication however you want. I'm just going to, for the sake of making sure everybody understands all the steps, I'm going to multiply across the top, across the bottom, and then I'm going to do that division and get 25. So the math stays the same with the negative there. Remember, the negative just means I'm going clockwise instead of counterclockwise. You're going to do number 9 in the assignment, and that is it for converting with radians.